Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Jarrell training webinar / live stream, depending on which generation you're part of and how you engage with the internet. And this live stream is helpfully titled, while I just load that up, AI, How to Design Your Personal Copilot. There we go. There's the screen. There we can see the slides. So, if you could just drop me a note in chat, let me know that we have people here. I can see that there are 34 people joining us. Ryan is a livener. Good. Isn't that like a livener is like your first drink after work? You have a quick livener. Louise is in chat. Devin is saying hi. Louise, Jade, Kerry, afternoon. Do let me know which part of Norfolk you are dialing in from. If indeed you are in Norfolk, you may be from further afield. Heaven forbid. I myself am based in South Norfolk, so South Norfolk that I have a Suffolk postcode, which really kind of tugs at the heartstrings every time, because actually I don't want a Suffolk postcode. I want a Norfolk one. Hence the Way sign that you can see behind me. Sam is dialing in from London today, but hometown in Norwich. We've got Newmarket. We got just over the border in Harleston, North Norfolk. Elisa is very general. Hopefully you're on the coast. Lovely coast in North Norfolk. Adam grew up in Great. And then you left. I am imagining you're not still around. Thorpe St Andrew, one of my best friends is from Thorpe St Andrew, and Charlie is in Norwich. Charlie, if it's the Charlie I think it is, I think that's Charlie from Jarrell Training. So I imagine you're watching in one of the training rooms on the big screen. It is Charlie from Jarrell Training is joining as well. Ably assisted by Karen as well. So if I do not see anything in chat as we're going through today, Karen is there to answer any questions or kind of flag me down and say, Toby, stop talking. We need to go to the chat. So Bergapton, just outside Norwich. Great. Is anybody outside of Norfolk? I know we've had one Suffolk person. We someone near Harleston. Is there anyone? We've got Lowestoft. I always forget Lowestoft's in Suffolk, isn't it? Someone is dialing in from City Hall, Banff, Scotland. Wow. Okay, so Susie, you are currently. Let's just say, yeah, we got Banff, Scotland, right here on the chat. You are winning essentially the furthest far-flung attendee. So as it said in the description for this webinar, this is interactive. I will expect you to get involved in the chat, but I'll also expect you to get involved using your phones as well. So if you do have a smartphone, can you get it out for me and scan this QR code? If you're not QR code friendly, you can just go to menti.com and enter the code 13391593. I'll give you just a few moments to scan that QR code. Let's just show Neil's comment. If I turn on my VPN, can I claim to be from Barbados? Neil, I can't see where your IP address is from anyway. So if you told me you're from Barbados, I would have just believed you, and you would have got a little bit of fame on this live stream. So QR code is there on the screen. We've also got the traditional enter URL and code there as well. I'm just going to switch that QR code off. And we will go and see if anyone... Oh, look at this. We've had people starting to respond to the question already. I'm going to move myself into a little bit there so we can see other. Just wanted to get a sense of who we have on the live stream today. So we've got 5 people in leadership, 1 sole HR person, 6 from L&D, 6 from operations, no one from sales and business development. Usually if someone is from sales and business development on one of these, they are scouting for what the competition is doing. But at Jarrell Training, there is no competition. We deliver the best training. 1 from marketing and communications, 3 from IT, Charlie from Jarrell Training. I imagine you've ticked that one. 2 from customer service, 4 from finance, and 9 from other. I could not make this list any longer. It capped out at 10. Anybody who's answered other, just put in chat. What do you do? If you're not in one of these bits, what do you do? Are you a farmer? Are you working on the front line in a Gressingham duck factory? I don't know. What are you doing? EA to the corporate team leadership. We've got a project manager. Oh, project manager. Sometimes my best friend, sometimes my worst enemy. Training manager, social prescribing, nice. QA technician. Whoa. There's a whole world of jobs out there I just knew nothing about. Project manager. Oh, project manager. So we've got Helen is a project manager, and we also had Vincente is a project manager as well. So project managers all get together. Local government. Ryan manages a small office. Sam is a program manager. Lots of cool people around. Okay, so now we know that Menti works. We know you can scan the QR code, and that 40 out of 43 have managed to answer the question. 3 of you have managed not to answer, but that's fine. Let's go to the next Menti question, which I'm going to fire up here. This will have changed on your devices as well. I just want to get to know, what AI tools are you all currently using? So that should have refreshed on your mobile device. 2 for Microsoft Copilot. Oh, it's going up. ChatGPT. I'm not using any AI tools at the moment. 3, 4 people, 5 people. Google Gemini, person after my own heart. Someone has now figured out you can tap the little thumbs up button and it sends me a little thumbs up. So if you tap that, that will appear on the screen. There you go. Someone's figured out that we can do it there as well. A lot of Microsoft Copilot. 19! The vast majority on Copilot. Some of you using... Oh, someone's using Cortex. Very nice. 9 using ChatGPT, 5 not using it at all, 1 something else. I imagine that's Neil. That's you with Cortex. Neil has said Cortex, something I actually haven't used before, and 1 using Google Gemini as well. And Jade is saying, let's see, there's a lot of Copilot going on. Jade said, we just switched over from Copilot. You were using ChatGPT. We'll talk about why most people are making that migration a little bit soon. And who we got? Louise saying you use Copilot and ChatGPT. It allows me to select, it doesn't allow you to select more than 1. That's fine. Just the one you're using the most. So we've got a lot of Copilot users, quite a few ChatGPT as well. But for the rest, not so many. Now, the great news is what we're going to be talking about today is applicable to ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, probably Grok as well, if you're that way inclined. I don't bump into many Grok users here in the UK, but if you do want to use Grok, I'm not going to judge you for it. Paula makes a great point. Copilot is the platform we're advised to use at your place of work. Most places of work advise you to use Copilot, and like I say, we'll come on to that a little bit later on. The last question I want to ask in this Q&A segment, if you like, is, so you're using AI, what are you currently using it for? And there are so many different options here that I need you just to type something in, and we'll see what comes up on the screen. Gemini. Adam saying Gemini has a really good customization tool. It absolutely does, Adam. I use that myself. It's very good. Meeting notes, meeting minutes. I'm expecting meeting to come up a lot. Data analysis, drafting emails, social media, summarizing documents, reports and prompts, social media, plans. Plans is very generic. Plans, you want to expand on plans in chat? Neil, using data analysis and improving your SQL. Fantastic. Claude is definitely my tool of choice for data analysis. Nothing at the Mo. Summary of information, meeting notes. Drafting emails in our big bad word cloud is coming up a lot. A lot of people using drafting emails and meeting notes, emails, reports. All the exciting stuff we love doing at work. Anything else? We've got policy design. Oh, where was that much moved around? Policy design. Oh, it keeps moving. Policy design, general assistance, lovely stuff. Okay, so what we find is when we do this kind of training, a lot of people are using it for meeting notes and drafting emails. That is the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that we can do really easily. If you're attending meetings and still taking notes, then I would advise that you start using your friend of mine, artificial intelligence. If you're using it to drafting emails, very good. The only issue with drafting emails, and I had this the other day, I used AI to draft an email. So, who wrote your email for you? You didn't write that. And they called me out on it, and they were absolutely bang right. So, I'm going to talk about how to mitigate some of that as well. AI is really designed to be your own personal co-pilot. No pun intended when we talk about Microsoft. But what we're looking at here is we need to be able to craft it in such a way that enables us to get more personalized responses rather than making every single email from every single person look exactly the same. So we'll come back to Mentimeter a little bit later on for our final question, but let's get into it. So when we look at AI, when we've talked about some of these tools already, there are a few, what I determine is like kind of 3 categories of AI in the world of work. The first is out the flow, what we call out the flow, where you have to stop what you're doing in that present environment and move somewhere else. So if you're writing an email and you go to use ChatGPT to help you write that email, it's out the flow. You're having to go out of that program somewhere else to do a piece of work. Now, that could be the same with Copilot, could be the same with Gemini, Grok, Claude, NotebookLM, Perplexity. All of these have like kind of almost exactly the same interface. If you opened all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if you opened all 7 of these at the same time, the user interface looks almost exactly the same. And that's because it's just a chat window. That's how we can interact with what we call an LLM, or a large language model. And primarily when we're looking at AI in today's session, we are looking at LLMs. And I think even in the past year, even in the past 6 months, the development of how AI works beyond a large language model has become really interesting. Does anyone need a quick description of what a large language model is? If you want a little, just let me know in chat. If you I'm using big, long acronyms that no one understands, just let me know in chat and we've got a thumb up. Yeah, so a large language model. AI is not actually the cleverest thing in the world. All it is doing is pattern recognition, right? So it has a large data source, or a large language data source, where it understands how words are formed together to make sentences and paragraphs and make sense of stuff. And so what it does, it kind of goes, well, logically, what would be the next word that comes after the word that had just preceded? Based on all the information I have, what's likely to be the next word? And so that's all it's really doing. It's just being able to do it on such a large scale that it can almost do anything. Now, when ChatGPT certainly first came out, there was a lot of kind of debate, because it's like, well, their large language model was developed based on data in 2020, I think it was at the time. And so they scraped all the information they could in 2020 and built their large language model off that. It's like, how could it possibly be any good if it's using 2020 data? And that's kind of right. When you were asking it questions about, history or recent history and news, it wouldn't be able to give you that information because it wasn't pulling from the internet. The thing that accelerates AI now is you have this large language model that's able to understand what word's going to come next and when it's going to what it's presenting to you, but it's also now able to go to live information just changing the internet and pull that back through. Yeah, we got a good explanation here from Adam, right? So let's say AI trained on vast amounts of data from across everywhere, pretty much. But like I say, what it does is it takes it from that snapshot in a moment in time, and then it uses the internet to augment that as well. So Susie, Paul, that is just for you, that quick explanation of a large language model. So when we look at these tools, lovely little thumbs up there, that is out of the flow of work. We then have this stuff that's now in the flow of work, which is generally, these are the 4 that we go to. Okay, so many of you who are using Copilot are doing it in the flow of work. If you're in a Word document, you're in an Outlook email, you're in an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation, Copilot will pop up a little bit like Clippy back in 1998, if you're of a certain age. If you don't know who Clippy is, ask your parents. But it'll pop up and help you do things in the flow of work. You're not having to go to a separate application to do that. It's helping you in the there and then, which is useful to a point. And I say useful to a point because I'm a Google Workspace user, and I use Google Gemini all the time to help me draft my emails. However, it only has the context and understanding of that email chain. It doesn't know how I talk or what else I might be talking about. It doesn't have any reference points. So the customization in Copilot and Gemini when it's embedded is kind of limited to the information it has in front of them. It has the large language model, but it can also then look at your document and spreadsheet, which does make it a little bit limited. And just to give you a couple of other examples, not in a work context, so Meta AI, if any of you are kind of Facebook or Instagram users, you'll notice that Meta AI pops up every now and again saying, hey, can you tell me a bit more about this post? Can you interrogate the picture, the news article? What did Lewis Hamilton say at the Australian Grand Prix? You can tell what kind of content I'm getting. And Grok does the same, right? Grok also has in the flow to be able to interrogate tweets on X. So there is this now proliferation of AI that is embedded in what we do, but it only has a very specific use case, and therefore doesn't become the very best co-pilot for us in the world of work, because it's only doing its activity on a limited set of stuff. So when I look at some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to be using ChatGPT. Why? Because it's probably the most popular AI tool on the planet. It also develops faster than most at the moment as well. So what we're looking at is like the most cutting edge large language models that are on the market at the moment. However, it must be said, everything that we're talking about today, you can translate all of the skills and the methodologies into other platforms, such as Gemini, such as Copilot, Claude, or whatever your AI tool of choice. Everything we're talking about today can go into various other applications. And so herein lies our first bit of learning, if you like. An acronym called PCD. Can anyone chat kind of give me a guess what they think PCD stands for in the world of AI? If you're an Ellis and John podcast listener, it does stand for podcast devotee. Let me know if you know that reference point. If you don't, just ignore it. But PCD, in the world of AI, what do we think P, C, and D stands for? P is relatively straightforward. I would hope somebody in chat would be able to tell me what the P stands for, although I am being met with an incredible amount of silence. Personal? Prompt. Tim, look, you put a question mark. Be more confident with your answer, Tim. Tim has said prompt. Prompt is the very first one. Prompt condition design. Ooh, Devin, very, very nice. It's not, but prompt. Tim is saying. Tim has now said prompt. Well, Tim, that's worthy of me showing it. Tim has now said prompt with an exclamation mark. More definitive. So the first one is prompt. The second one is conversation, and the third one is data, or clarity, or conversation, and I'll talk about that. So when AI first came out, and if you are, there were some people in the Menti that were talking about not having used AI at all. The first place you start with AI is prompting, or what some guy in Silicon Valley called prompt engineering, which is fancy terms for writing an instruction for a computer, but we call it prompt engineering. Now, prompt engineering is really, really important because it's the first thing you do to interact with an AI tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to ChatGPT now. And we're just going to talk a little bit more about prompting. So I'm going to open up ChatGPT there. And as you know, with AI tries to please you. I think that's the one thing to take away with this. Any AI tool such as ChatGPT is designed to please you. And so it's not going to highlight when it's wrong. It's always going to want to make you feel good about yourself. Case in point, how can I help, Toby Kheng? It's pretending it knows me. Data, Vincente, you said data is for the D, so you've got that one ahead of time. So just for time, I have pre-populated some prompts. So what I don't want to do is sit here and just be typing prompts for you all. I've written some examples. So what I have done, first and foremost, if I just go to new chat actually, is most AI tools will respond in 3 different ways. And that's depending on how much essentially computing power it wants to do. So if I click up here in the top left-hand corner, you can see that it's actually showing me 3. There is auto. It decides how long to think. There is thinking mode. It thinks more about its answers. And then there's pro and research grade intelligence. ChatGPT did used to have, if I go back to 5.2, instant mode. So sometimes it doesn't let you kind of just pick that out of the box anymore. It will automatically decide when it's instant. So most of you who've used AI in any guise will have noticed that you type something in, it gives you a response straight away, which is good. Again, it's designed to please you. It wants to give you the thing you want the absolute quickest. But what we're now uncovering is that actually the quality of the output there when you use instant isn't great. And so I want to just give you a little bit of a comparison. So I did an instant chat here, and I asked ChatGPT, if I scroll all the way up, write a 1,000-word report on Norwich City Football Club as a business. And this is what it came up with straight away. Now, the thing to be noted here is there are no citations. It's not pointing to its sources. It's just gone, this is all the information I think I have based on my large language model. Like I say, that can be from any moment in time. We don't really know where that is. So it's done a pretty good job, though. It looks like it's probably 1,000 words, but let's just give the first paragraph out, take the first paragraph out for a spin. Norwich City Football Club, NCFC, commonly known as the Canaries, we're right so far, represents more than a professional football team competing in England's football pyramid. Oh, interesting. It's more than football. Founded in 1992, correct. Based at Carrow Road, also correct. Has evolved into a multifaceted business entity operating with the highly commercialised and globally competitive football industry. As both a sporting institution and a regional economic anchor, Norwich City provides a compelling case study of how a mid-sized football club can balance financial sustainability, community engagement, and competitive ambition. So, I don't know, let's rate that out of 10. That opening paragraph, out of 10, if you were writing a report on Norwich City as a business, is that good enough for you? Would you accept that? 0 being absolutely not, throw that in the bin, it doesn't sound like me, it's not what I would use. Or 10, that sounds exactly how I'd introduce Norwich City. Simon is giving a 4, that's fair. Mags a 5, Susie a 5, Rebecca a 5. Oh, we had an 8. Hello. Was their name Hello? Charlie gave it an 8. Got 5, 6. So it's kind of middle of the road. So this, again, this is using the instant mode. This gave me this instantly. I waited like 5 seconds. So it's good, but I'm not really going to use it. It may be a starting point where I start crafting that language myself and make it sound more like me. But actually, I don't know if any of this is true. If I didn't know about Norwich, this is the key about human in the loop, is I can personally evaluate that opening statement because I know Norwich City Football Club quite well. As a fan and as a member of the Norfolk community, it's one of the biggest things going, right? So there's a lot of information there I can validate. Tim is saying sorry. I don't know why you're saying sorry, Tim. You said sorry. I'm going back. Are you saying sorry because you gave it a 5? Tim, why are you saying sorry? Tim, don't be sorry. Oh, you're sorry for me being a Norwich fan. I get it. Good joke. Thanks, Tim. If you're an Ipswich fan, you could just press that little button at the top that says leave. You can do that if you like. Anyway, so we can see that in the instant mode, it's given us something, right? But with all of this information here, there's none of this information has been substantiated. I have been the human that substantiated that and can kind of go, because I know it, that's fine. So let's just have a look at the different modes then. So let's go into thinking mode. And now with ChatGPT specifically, but Copilot and Gemini will probably bring this on board as well. They have standard and thinking mode. So I've told you that there's instant, thinking and pro, but within thinking and pro, there are standard and extended mode. These are quite new. So I tested these out yesterday. Let's just dip into thinking mode standard and see what it came up with. Okay, so interestingly now, we've not got different sections. We've not got subheadings. We've just got a lot of text. But what we now have is Norwich City's a football club. You can see here as well, by the way, it thought for 39 seconds. So before it started writing anything, it thought for 39 seconds. The cool thing about when you see this on an AI tool is if you click on it, it will tell you about its thinking pattern. This is a really useful learning tool for yourself interacting with AI because you get to see what is AI thinking based on the very limited, again, this prompt up here is very, very limited. What kind of information is it giving me back? So it's gathering up information. It's looking at 8 sources. I can see all the sources it went to. It's opening up the annual report, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to take you, but it did all that thinking and research in 39 seconds to then present us this information and was then able to say, these are the sources that I'm citing here, which has just opened in another window over on this screen. But you can see that it's gone to Company's House to validate this. Did it go anywhere else? And the contact us page of Norwich City's website, which is a weird place to start. It's also cited the Getting to Know Norwich City website page on the website, the club statement from 2024, and a club statement from shareholder statement. Adam, worth noting that you have to be careful, real careful, let's get that chat there, with certain topics, as it will pick up from places like Reddit and use that as a source, or at least it has in the past. Absolutely. This is why the instant mode, especially with that task, is really important. It's like, you don't want it to pick up almost user-generated content. You need to be able to validate it. So this is why interrogating these kind of sources and going, well, am I going to trust the Norwich City website to know about Norwich City? Yes, I probably am. Am I going to trust the government institution of Company's House? Yes, I probably am. And we can look down here. So we now know that it's only taken us 39 seconds more time, not work, because we haven't done the work. It's thought 39 more seconds, and now it's able to go, okay, this is the sources I looked at, okay? And now it kind of embellishes the languages a bit more. So Norwich City Football Club is far more than a football team. It's a regional entertainment brand, a community institution, a property-based match day business. I have no idea what that means. A media business, a retailer, and a talent development enterprise wrapped inside one emotional product, belonging. So we can now see it's bringing some more of the values and the motive stuff from the football club, which is probably from its website. That is why football clubs should never be analysed purely on league position. In business terms, clubs, Norwich City sits at the intersection of sport, identity, and local economic impact, with Carrow Road acting as both a stadium and a commercial anchor for the club's wider ecosystem. The club is incorporated as Norwich City Football Club plc and remains active on Companies House and files annual accounts in the normal way expected of a sizable company. So we now see that the language is a little bit softer. It's kind of brought in some of the values piece that I know Norwich will talk about on its website, and kind of especially, it's more than just a football team. It's kind of listed more things now about what the football club does. It's been able to quantify that a little bit more. So that was standard thinking mode. We're now going to extended thinking mode. This was quite a surprise. So it thought for 39 seconds before. Extended thinking mode was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So we now know it's thought a lot more, or it says it's thought a lot more. And again, if you click down here and look down the right-hand side, you can now see I'm scrolling a lot longer. It's thought more. It's actually, if you kind of dig into detail, it's just gone to loads more sources. So as per Adam's point about the sources, really important to go, would I necessarily spot track or SPO track or whatever that is? Would I use that as a source if I was researching myself? Probably not. So it allows us to start interrogating what it's been doing. It's for 3 minutes and 40. So now we're getting a few more numbers and dates in there as well. So we know that it's probably pulling a little bit more information. But let's go over to Pro Mode and see what Pro Mode was doing. So Pro Mode Standard, whilst this just loads up, let's scroll to the top. This thought for a whopping 41 minutes and 38 seconds. So here's your red flag straight away. If you want something done quickly, don't use Pro Mode. But let's check the thoroughness, right? So we can now see we're now getting more reference points. Sky Bet Championship, I think this is the first time that's been mentioned. We're now getting, as of spring 2026, we know it's pulling more relevant information. Share conversion in March 2025, 85%. Now we're getting numbers. We're getting way more information here. Yes, it took 41 minutes. But now the AI isn't just trying to please us, it's actually doing a much better job. And as before, I can click on thought for 41 minutes and 38 seconds. And I can see down the right-hand side here, the thought process it's gone through. Would it work if you told it not to use Wiki and use Credible? Yes. So this is where prompting comes in, right? Because again, what I've done here, Jade, is I've just written a very woolly prompt. Like, if your prompt is that long, you can expect to get not great output. But actually, for 41 minutes worth of time, it's probably done a reasonable job. Let's just check in on extended. And we can see that extended actually didn't do that much more thinking. And actually, I would say, we've got some numbers and stuff going on in here. You see that it's probably not as good a report. So even between a very similar mode and a very similar amount of thinking, what we've got here from Pro Standard and Pro Extended is a vastly different output based on exactly the same prompt. And this is the point I want to hammer home today, is prompting to start doing anything with AI is incredibly important. And I want to give you just a very, very simple framework, which I call RTF. Role, task, and format. You tell the AI tool what role you want it to play. You tell it what task you want it to complete and what format you want the output to be in. If you hit those three things in your prompting, all of a sudden, things start getting a lot better. So let's take a look what a good prompt looks like now. So, I was going to say a good prompt, not a great prompt. So here we go. I was really specific with it, right? You're a sports business analyst with expertise in football club strategy, financial performance, and commercial positioning. Task, right? 1,000 word report. So it knows now the language I need to use, the inspiration I need to take, what kind of stuff should I be doing? Then, what is it? 1,000 word report on Norwich City Club as a football business, analyze their on-pitch performance, business model, revenue streams, use evidence, examples, and commercially grounded reasoning throughout. Now, Jade, this is where your point comes in, right? Because if you wanted to say, do not go to these places, or specifically go to these places, this is where you would do it. Make sure it's in the task. And then we can then go to format. Well, I know the format I want the report in, right? I don't want it to come up. As you'll have seen from all of that prompting before, the output was radically different. You know, the structure and how it's presenting was radically different. Based, all of everything I showed you before this was exactly the same kind of 10, 12 word prompt. So now we get this very well written summary of everything in here. Again, though, this was done in instant mode, right? There's no, oh, I thought about this. So now we've got a better report, but actually by using thinking or pro mode, I could get an even better one. Again, sacrificing the time. So I think that's pretty much everything on prompt. Like I say, the thing you need to remember is role, task, and format. Just those three things. What AI doesn't have is the context of who you are, how you speak, and what you want. Very much like a new employee coming into a business, right? It doesn't really have all of that understanding. When Copilot and Gemini are used in the flow of work, it has the kind of understanding of what you're doing at that moment in time, because it can see the email thread, it can see the document, so it can make some guesses. But if I was to write like I did up here, write a 1,000-page report on Norwich City Football Club, like, why do you want me to do that? I did one the other day. So we were doing some AI training at the training centre in St James's Mill, and I searched for the company that we were doing the training for, and it went, who is this? Is this a company? Is this a sports club? Like, the name was quite generic in that it didn't really know where to look. So even that kind of didn't really give it that detail. So yeah, if we take that, we can expand that quite easily out into something that's way more valuable for AI to look at. So let's just go back to that. Role, task, format. So that's prompting. Has anyone got any questions around good prompting, first of all? So if anybody in chat does want to add anything, has a question, please do let me know. But the very, very basis of working with AI in any kind of situation is all about prompt. Can you do a good prompt? And like I say, there are various, even if you just, here's where it gets very weird, right? Even if you ask ChatGPT or your AI tool to write the prompt for you, I've done that before. It's like, I'm trying to achieve this is what I want to do. I've even got ChatGPT to create my prompts for me. So it's a really useful way to start understanding things. Helen, expand on personalization and saving prompts. I can dive into that now, actually. So let's just open ChatGPT back up. So saving prompts. My advice is, if you're looking to save a prompt, you want to create a GPT or a gem if you're in Gemini. Can't remember what they're called in Copilot. But essentially, we're not going to cover this today, but what you want to be able to do is create something that, if you're going to do it over and over and over again, you want to create a chat that is primed to do it over and over again. So in this example, Helen, what I have here is I have an email composer and a LinkedIn companion. Both of those have been set up and say, I want you to write in this specific style and way with any of the content I provide you. So all I do when I'm on the move is I literally talk into my phone, into the email composer. I say, this is the email I want to send, blah, 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 blah. And it reformats all of that based on lots of source material that I've given it to write in my tone and style. So that's where you want to start customizing it, and that's where the D comes in the PCD in terms of the data piece. In terms of personalization, if you generally, again, most AI tools do this. Always, I would is go into here and put in some custom instructions, put in more about you. You might want to turn memory on. Go into these settings and look at personalization. Right, the personalization is going to be incredibly important. So, but use it sparingly, right? So I've done professional wrestling in the past, and I had to take that piece of information out because it kept using wrestling language in everything I was doing, my emails, my proposals, and all of that kind of stuff. So the personalization element is good, but you kind of have to be very prescriptive with it. The biggest thing I would use in personalization, and for a UK audience especially, M dashes. M dashes are the one thing that give away an AI written piece of content, because we don't really use them that much in the UK. So in my personalization, I've asked it to remove M dashes. Here's the kicker. What can I see here? M dash. M dash. M dashes are still all over it, even though I've primed it. So the personalization features, while useful to write down and tell it, it doesn't always go, okay, I'll look at those personalization features. Great prompting and maybe even building your own GPTs is really the way to go. Hopefully, Helen, that answers your question. Oh, Neil, you had a question as well. Do you plan your prompt outside the window and just copy it in, or just experience writing direct in the window? So I write it in I use a different chat for that. And then I copy it in. The reason I do that is because what is known as a context window. So a context window means that an AI conversation is only able to handle a certain amount of information at any one time, which is why a tool like ChatGPT, you can only ever upload, by clicking the little plus icon, 10 files as source material in any one chat, because its context window isn't big enough to take in any more than that. And if anyone's ever had a conversation with an AI where it kind of goes, you've completely forgotten what the purpose of this chat is, the longer you have a conversation in ChatGPT or any AI tool, the more context you're giving it, and it will struggle to go back in time and do that, especially with things like video and image creation, because that takes up more computing power. Adam, there's an M dash comment in here, so let's pull that up on the screen. I must confess, M dashes have been a thing I've used for nearly a decade. It's used in fiction a lot too. It's a shame that M dashes now have this tarnished reputation. Bless the Adam, they're sticking up for the M dash. I know, right? It is just a modern part of language, but I think it's not a problem in the States. I've done a lot of AI training in America, and they love it. And I think, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, they're all American companies, right? So it's kind of part of that vernacular. And Adam has just gone on to say he will stand on that hill. Of course you will, Adam. So in terms of prompting, that's just a little whiz around what we were doing there. Now, what you can do to enhance your prompt and turn it more into a conversation is add clarity. Okay, so what you'll have done, even if you wrote the most amazing prompt or you've asked your AI tool to help you design the prompt, there's an assumption there. The AI tool is going to go, oh, you've given me a really detailed prompt. That must be everything I need to know. And then it'll go off and do the task. Whether it has all the information it needs or not, it will still go off and do that task. It will never interrogate your prompt for you by saying, hey, I don't really understand this bit, or could you expand on this point? It won't do that, right? Even though it might be incredibly useful to do so. Like I say, AI is designed to please you. So the C is for clarity. Clarity or conversation. I tend to interchange those two. So if I go back to ChatGPT, I'm going to click on this chat, this one I made earlier. I'm going to just have a little cough. Apologies. You can see that I've now taken that same prompt that I had before, but I've added a little something extra. Before you begin, ask me exactly 3 clarifying questions that will help you improve the quality, focus, relevance of the report. Wait for my answers before writing anything. Now, this is really important. Couple of things. Exactly 3 clarifying questions. What I used to put in here is ask me 3 to 5 questions. It would always ask me 5 questions. Why? Because it's a stretch target. I gave it, it would never answer 3, ask 3 or 4. It would always ask 5 because it's trying to please me. It's like, oh, if I do 5, it means I've completed the task to its fullest, so I will do 5, because that's the upper echelon. So in this instance, say exactly 3. Give me exactly 3 questions that will help improve the quality, focus, and relevance of the report. So now, rather than just saying, here's what I want you to do, go away and do it, it's like, this is what I want you to do, but let's just make sure you understand what we're trying to achieve here before we start. So it's given me 3 questions. Who is the intended audience for this briefing? An investor, a board or leadership team, a sponsor or a commercial partner, a student or academic audience, or a general business reader? Do you want the report anchored in mainly the most recent full season and current 25-26 context, or as a broader 3 to 5 year business review? I don't think reading Norwich City's 3-year review is going to be particularly happy. Should the tone stay strictly neutral and analytical, or do you want a more pointed commercial perspective, stronger judgment on ownership, leadership, and strategic choices? So now it's kind of going, okay, these are the things you haven't included in the prompt that would be useful for me to know. So rather than type and get you to watch me type, I'm just going to dictate this. Okay, so the intended audience for this briefing is for a commercial partner. I am looking to partner with a sponsorship for the South Stand at the football club, and so it should read on the performance of the organisation how I might invest within as a sponsor of the South Stand. I want it anchored in probably the past 3 years. I want to see trend data to understand how the performance of the football club is going. Is it on an upward trajectory, a downward trajectory? Is it plateauing? Is it a good time to invest in the football club at the moment? And I want it to stay strictly neutral and analytical. I'm incredibly passionate about Norwich City, and I don't want that to cloud my judgment on whether this is a reasonable investment opportunity. So I can get that away. I can get that voice note will just do its transcription, and there we go. I can answer those 3 questions very quickly, and it will provide some output. Again, you can see just for expediency on this training or this webinar, I'm using instant mode still because I don't want you to have to sit in silence for 3.5 minutes watching something process. Over the past 3 years, the club has transitioned from a yo-yo Premier League participant to a more settled championship contender. Yeah, like I said, I didn't think the 3-year overview would be incredibly good reading, but now we can, for a South Stand sponsorship, the opportunity is best viewed as brand alignment and play with a strong regional penetration, dependable matchday visibility, rather than high. So again, so now it's giving me a very specific version of this report. And let's be honest, this prompt here and these 3 questions and then subsequent prompt aren't actually that long, but I'm giving it more context and more information to play with that kind of just pleases it. It gets really happy that it's got all of this information, and then you can go around and play with it. But also what you can do is I think it was Neil, when you said do you plan your prompt outside the window and copy it in, or just experience to writing direct in the window? I'm experienced at writing direct in the window now. In fact, I don't write anymore. I just talk my prompt. So I go through role, task, format, and I just say it. But what you can do is if you kind of get the output and say, that's not quite what I wanted, I would always go back and just edit the prompt rather than trying to re-prompt. So let's say I wanted 6... and I wanted the questions to be open. Sometimes if you don't ask if the questions are open, it'll give you like yes or no ones, which isn't particularly helpful because when you answer, it doesn't give any more context. And now you can see it's deleted the rest of the chat. So now it's going to go, okay, if I was going to ask you 6 questions and they were all open, what would they be? What is the purpose of the report? Again, that's not missing. That's missing in here, right? What am I doing for? I think the first 3 questions are exactly the same. So we know that ChatGPT is consistent, if nothing else. Are there any specific timeframes you want prioritized? Do you want benchmarking or comparisons? Oh, that'd be quite cool. Is there any specific angle or hypothesis you want explored? This is quite hard to answer as someone who doesn't really have I've got just a strong, I was born and bred in Lincolnshire. Moved to Norfolk when I was 11, so not early enough in my life to adopt a Norfolk accent. Don't know, Mags, to be completely honest. I know at Jarrell Training we have a number of accents with varying levels of success. Leanne was even talking to me, reception was talking to me the other day about her accent. Susie saying it doesn't recognise the Scottish dialects. What I was going to do, I was just going to try doing accents into ChatGPT. I'm not going to do that. That's a political hot potato, which I'm not going to do on a live stream. The other thing you kind of need to prime it with as well is what is your accent, right? So I know I have said that I'm UK English, right? So that's fine. Not just from a spelling and grammar perspective, but also from a language perspective as well. I thought that may be the case. Very few systems do that. Scottish. Oh, I've got a couple of Scots on the call. So you must be aware of the voice-activated lift sketch. I can't remember what the comedy duo was, but where they're just in a lift shouting. Yeah, Susie knows it. I'm not going to try and recreate that sketch, but it's the same thing. What AI tools are getting better at is being able to select it. So what happens? So I used to have ChatGPT on just pick up what voice I'm doing, and for whatever reason, it would think I was Welsh and start responding in Welsh. I've got so many chats I had to delete because it thought I was speaking Welsh. I don't know whether that's because I speak particularly animated and quickly that it went, you must be just speaking lots of different words that I don't understand, and it would respond in Welsh. I have no idea what you're saying, I'm afraid. So yeah, make sure that that's in your personalization about if you have the option within your given tool to prime it with that information. Because what you're trying to do here in every instance of working with AI is reduce the cognitive load the AI tool has to do, right? The more you can give it, the less it has to work at figuring out what you want, and it can just give you or work on the task in hand. And that brings me nicely, actually, onto our last element of PCD, which is, I can't remember, apologies in chat. Someone did say it was data. Now, this is probably the biggest, most pertinent point in AI at the moment. Data in AI is incredibly important, especially when you're inside a company, right? Because you have the opportunity to give it loads of context. If you think of, if you're on SharePoint or OneDrive or Google Drive or whatever, just think about all the files that your company has in that shared drive. So much information that you can pull from. Now, the issue is, I go back to what I said before, is if there's a lot of stuff to point at, case in point, when we did the, let's just go back to the pro mode, given the whole, is Vincente, thank you very much, Karen, appreciate that. Congratulations on getting the data point again. So what this has done, it's gone away for 41 minutes, and the task was essentially look at all of the internet and write me a good report. And you're like, that's probably too much for it to go at. Even for you to say, look at every file within my organization and write me something XYZ, again, that's too much. So what can you do to give an AI even better information? And so the one file that was missing from every single output of this Norwich City Football Club assessment was its annual statement. Probably one of the documents that has the biggest, best amount of information about the football club, about the strategy, where they're going, their performance, their values, all of that stuff. Does not come up once in here. Why? Because it exists as a link on Norwich City's website as a link to a PDF. And it can't go and do that. So what I can show you here is if I click on, again, one I prepared earlier, the D for data. Is I took that, I've taken the, sorry, I'm just going to cough again. I've taken the questions out just for expediency, but this time I have put the 2024-2025 annual statement of Norwich City in there. And so now it can use that as a source. Remember, I am still just using instant mode here, so it could go off and do its own research as well, but I've now provided it with information. And when you're in ChatGPT or any other tool, usually if you just click here and add a file, you can add up to 10. Okay. Again, the context window means that you are limited to 10 generally. Okay. But each one of those files can be as long as, I think, 10 copies of War and Peace. So the documents can be quite big. But again, the more you throw at it, the harder you're making its life. So I could say, I want you to use this as a source. And now it's created a really good 1,000 word report based on that single source alone. But again, if I went into pro mode, it would be able to go into, or even thinking mode. In thinking mode, it would interrogate the document a lot more. In pro mode, it's going to go and look at other sources. But to answer the point someone said about, searching Wiki or Reddit, again, you can point it in the right direction. Now, this is really important because there are several great data sources, particularly in the world I operate in, kind of understanding companies' performance and training them to amplify that performance. There's some great information on Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn. All three of those sources cannot be interrogated by ChatGPT or any AI tool. Does anyone know why AI can't interrogate those websites? If anyone can guess in chat, I'll give you a couple of moments to answer. Why can AI not interrogate LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or Indeed data? Paywall. Yeah, you have to log in. Not even a paywall. It's gated, right? You have to log in to do it, so it can't do that. So when I've looked at what I've done before to prepare for training, I've had the list of 12 delegates, and I've gone, okay, I'm going to look at their LinkedIn profiles. I've then downloaded their LinkedIn profiles because I know ChatGPT can't do that. I've uploaded them into ChatGPT and goes, can you just write me a summary about all the people that are coming on my training? What they post about, what they're like, what their experiences, what their job roles. And before I enter a training now, I have a full report on, as long or as short as I want, on the people that come onto my training. ChatGPT alone or any AI tool alone would not be able to do that because it wouldn't be able to interrogate that data. It also doesn't know who is going to be on the training course that I'm delivering, right? And so we now get into the world of putting data into an AI tool, which makes the output so much better. However, there is one big issue with putting information into ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, anything like that. Just by a quick show of hands in chat, who here is using forget Copilot for a moment, because Copilot's a little bit different. But if you're using an AI tool that isn't Copilot, are you paying for it? Just a quick yes or no. So who's paying for an AI tool? No, no, no. Charlie, yes. No, no, no. Yes, 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 yes. No, 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 no. Yes, yes, yes. So if you're paying for it, congratulations. You're probably using AI in a very ethical way. Because if you pay for an AI tool, you kind of get the luxury of being to tell it, do not use this data to train your AI tool. If you're using it for free, the reason they give it to you for free is because you essentially sign away the ability to use the data that you put in for training their model. So when you're using something like Norwich City's annual statement, that's not necessarily a problem, because that is open information that anyone can access anyway. If I were to put in my bank statements as an example, no one has access to that but me. But if I feed that into a free AI tool, it's free to use that information any way it wants. If I pay for it, and this is where you might not be able to see it on the screen, if I look down here, ChatGPT can make mistakes. OpenAI doesn't use this workspace data to train its models. So I'm paying for it, right? Because I know that I can switch that off. A really important thing to know, especially when you're working with organizations, that if you're using company data, if you've ever put company data or put an individual's data into a free AI tool, highly likely, 99% that it's sucked up that data. From 1st of April, will be change more for Cortex. I'm guessing that's down to the data provision there as well, from Neil. So be very, very careful. Yes, PCD. The D is data. And obviously you can put data in a prompt and you can put it when you answer the question in the conversation, but the data piece is the same for Gemini as well. So yeah, if you're using a free tool, it will be using that data. And I can tell you a personal story. A friend of mine works for a law firm, not in Norfolk, so no one on the call will know of this quite small law firm based in London. But essentially, one of their paralegals put some unpublished case law into ChatGPT. ChatGPT learned about that case law and started citing it as actual case law, even though it was draft. So that person then obviously got fired because they essentially put private, sensitive information about this case into a public tool that then taught about it. Whether it's, private information, personal identity, GDPR alone, you need to be thinking about, you shouldn't be sharing any personal information like that. So, for example, you all registered for this event today, you've given your names, your email addresses, identifiable data. If I then took that and then put that into a public, free AI tool, that would be catastrophic, and would suggest you don't do that. And this is why Copilot, and I said this at the beginning, is expanding its kind of reach, is because most companies operate on an Office 365 ecosystem, whereas Copilot's just part of it. Now, it's a lighter version of Copilot, but because it's baked in, it's in that protected ecosystem already. So that's why Copilot is almost the exception to rule. Gemini, if it's in a workplace subscription, is subject to the rule as well. Is this also the case for apps which you can use to record conversations from meetings? That very much depends on the tool that you're using. If you're using a free tool to record and transcribe your meetings, I would be very suspect that they are doing something with that information. Check the T's and C's. There's no real blanket one on that one, although generally, if someone offers you a piece of technology for free, it's because they can get something out of it. Facebook, classic example. Facebook do not charge you, in some instances, to use Facebook. Why? Because the information they get about your activity, your habits, your buying habits, maybe your location data, that is valuable to them. So they're happy to give you Facebook as a product for free. I think if anyone watched The Real Hustle back in the day, if it's too good to be true, it generally is. So the recording and transcribing of meetings, I would never and have never used a third-party tool. I've always used the tools baked into Microsoft Teams or Google Workspace. They're good enough. They do exactly what they need. They give me the notes. Fireflies, Otter AI will probably all die a death sooner rather than later, because most of these tools have those things built in. again, there's sensitive information there that you don't want to get out. Now, we're getting on for time, so let's just crack on back to the deck. So data, the thing I will leave you with before we do one more question is the third category of AI, embedded. Okay, embedded, there's only really two players here, Copilot Studio and Agent Space. Agent Space being the Google Workspace version. These two tools have access to essentially every piece of information within your company, which makes it incredibly useful for building GPTs, agents, even just having one-on-one chats, because now it has absolute carte blanche to access everything within your systems. And even then connect to other plugins as well. So, for example, with Google Agent Space, I use Slack. I'm able to connect it to Slack and it can start pulling information from that as well, which means I'm just getting better output as a result. Okay. And they are baked into a work-based subscription. So you can be pretty sure, almost guaranteed, that they are being responsible with your data as well. So these, if you're going to look at where AI is going, yes, we need to start understanding how we kind of bespoke our prompts and our conversations and our data for better output, but also how do we build those into maybe some GPTs or gems, as they're called in Gemini. But moving forward into 2026 and 27, being able to understand all of this stuff is just going to help you as a foundation to going into Agent Space and Copilot Studio, which over the next 1 to 2 years will just become the default way of interacting with AI within a company. So the other thing I want to tell you about is these two great companies, or these two AI companies, Artlist and Suno. So Suno is really great for making music. Artlist is really great for making videos. We're not going to cover making music and videos in this webinar because there's only 4 minutes left. But Artlist isn't based in Silicon Valley. Unbelievably, I found out the other week, it's based in Norwich. So one of the kind of pioneering AI video creation tools is actually based in Norwich, not too far away from Gerald's the department store. So I just thought I'd put that in there as a unique, interesting piece of information. And I'm actually going over there tomorrow to see the folks there at an event. But there's also this thing called Suno. And what I would like to do for you all today is I want to provide you with a custom song that summarizes this webinar. So to do that, I need a little bit of information from you. Thought Road, that's right, Neil. So if you could scan the QR code and or go to menti.com and enter the code 13391593 again. If you've still got the tab open on your phone, it will still work. And I will now go away from that and bring you back to Menti, and we go to the next slide. I just would like, in a few words, for you to tell me what you will remember from today's session about AI. And what I'll be able to do is take all of that stuff that you've learned from today's webinar and send it to you in a custom song. So let's see what we get out of this. No one so far. Better writing better prompts. Role, task, format. Great tips on prompts. You're welcome. Role, task, format, clarity. I can tell this song is going to be a lot of RTF in there. Prompt, clarity, data. It's not as scary as you thought. Absolutely not. It is only scary if you don't know how to use it and use it responsibly. What else? How to refine a report and lots about Norwich City too. Good. It's always good to spread the good word of the Norwich City Football Club. To learn more about context seems important. Different levels of thinking, useful tool. PCD. Be careful with data. Absolutely. Well delivered in a fun way. Well, thank you, caller. That was very nice. RTF. Right, okay, so we've got 2 minutes. Let's see if I can do this live in front of you now. So I am going to take all of these words that we've got here. I'm going to open an app called Suno, which you should all be able to see on the screen now. I'm going to put those in there. So these are all the words you've just given me. Write a song that recaps a webinar. Can someone give me a genre of music for me, please? And I will use that in a rock style. Here are the key learnings from the session for your reference. And we are now just going to, I'm just going to click this button because usually it's too long. So what this will do is just shorten it, and I can click create. What I will do is, because I don't believe I'm sharing my audio at the moment, so I will reshare my screen. I will share my audio. There we go. And it's going to create a song. We're just at past. So if you do have to go, I apologise. So, sea shanty. Sea shanty would have been quite cool. If you do have to go, thank you so much for joining me today. If you do want to hang on for 30 more seconds, you can hear some of the output of what this song is going to be like. Of course, the song is going to be called Prompt Clarity Data. That makes sense because that's what we're referencing a lot. Let's give this a play and see if it works. Hopefully you can hear that at home.
Boot up, new brief, white screen, while the line 1 set the scene, line 2 say what you want. Rows locked in like a back 4 holding the line.
And with that rock song, which we will send out to you, I'll get Karen to send that out to you. Thank you very much for joining me. If you've got any more questions, I will stay on for another 5 minutes. And yeah, look forward to seeing that song very soon. But for now, I wish you all a good afternoon. And like I say, I'll hang around for another 5 minutes for anyone who wants to talk. If not, I've been Toby Kheng for Jarrell Training. See you soon. Let's play the song more. There will be a recording of the webinar as well, just to interrupt the rock song. Notes, recording, all of that will be provided. Absolutely. The thing I can't believe, there's still 19 people listening to this song, so thanks for sticking with me till the end of the song. Charlie, I do not pay for Suno. This is not a tool I need in my life, but you can use it for free for, I think you get 50 credits. Not quite sure how many songs you get out of that.
Green and yellow scarf over swivel chair chrome. Clean scope, clear task, turn the buzz into bone. From the keeper to the 9, you connect each pass in the chain. Every clause, every tap.
Still got 8 people in the room, so if you do have any questions, pop them in chat. I will turn the rock music off to answer them. Esther, if you're still here, Karen is saying yes, recording definitely available. That goes for everyone still here as well. Oh, got a question from Lorraine. Why is Copilot better than ChatGPT? Copilot would be better than ChatGPT as a generic AI tool, what we called an out of flow of the work, out of flow work tool. ChatGPT is better. ChatGPT's large language model is far better, far superior to Copilot's. If I was going to do any sort of creative work, I would use ChatGPT. The issue there is if you're using it for free, obviously there's data privacy concerns, and it's also outside of your technological ecosystem. Copilot is embedded into everything you're doing. So ChatGPT won't appear in a Word document, a spreadsheet, or a PowerPoint presentation, or an email. You would have to go, I'm going to take this information out of the email, put it into ChatGPT to work through it. Whereas Copilot is embedded. It won't be able to do as good a job, but what you have straight out the gate is a lot of context. It can see all the email chain and all that kind of stuff, and therefore probably write a more accurate email, but you don't have the opportunity to customize it as much. So there's a little bit of give and take in what it does. And like I say, I use ChatGPT and Gemini embedded in my emails and my documents, and I kind of have to subtly work between the two. So I wouldn't say necessarily one is better than the other. Copilot has the benefit of existing in the environment you're already working in, and ChatGPT and Claude to some extent is a superior generative AI tool. Hopefully that answers your question, Lorraine. Anything more in chat, please do let me know. If you needed any more evidence that prompt clarity data was what we were talking about, that is the out of the song. It also creates 2 songs for you. I'm not going to play this one all the way through, but there are still 6 people on the live stream. So if anyone does have any more questions, now is the time to do it, because I'm going to give you 4 more minutes before I back out of this live stream and get Gemini to write my emails for me. So yeah, if you're one of the 6 people that's still in, I think one of them's probably Charlie, one of them's probably Karen. So we probably only have 4 people. If you're listening to me whilst you're on a walk, or you have walked away to make a cup of tea or coffee, I'm just now talking into the void. So I will give it to 22, just staying here, and we'll just play ourselves out with some lovely rock music about AI.
Every word has a job, every job has a place. Cut the clutter, keep the core, let the point show its face.
Well, Lorraine, the floor is yours. If you want to ask another question, you can ask it. You can please do ask away. I think you might have exclusive use of the conversation and the chat for the next 3 minutes.
Swivel chair chrome. Clean scope, create a task, turn the buzz into bone.
Both songs have mentioned a swivel chair, and I don't know why. I'm going to have to go and look through the information that you're provided, but it seems to know that I'm in a swivel chair. Okay, Lorraine, thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Hopefully see you at General Training sometime soon. Thank you.
Get haze, write the map, write the route, watch the answers obey. Refine that draft, trim the brag, keep fact, give voice its color, not a mask, just text, lock down names, keep the secret sealed tight, only share what you'd shout on a match day night. Soft tone for bad news, hard edge when it matters, swap flame for sense when the signal scatters, one clean summary, then the detail for the few, you respect what they gave you, so it all stays dry. Whoa, clarity data! Shout it back, shout it back! Clarity data! Feel it sharp, watch it scan!
And with that, here endeth the AI webinar. See you all very soon, and thank you very much for joining.